I want to all
Get the fucking Pikachu out of here!
I want to talk like Casablanca the whole time.
Oh, yeah.
I want to talk like the main character, where he doesn't do any facial expressions. But
The Sean Connery on the side of the mouth one?
Yeah.
Well, to be fair, you are a little bit newer to it, or more fresh on it than we are.
Yeah, we're 3 weeks out, so...
You watched it like the day after we picked it.
I was planning on doing a review.
Yeah, I
4
watched it
days
that
later.
weekend. I drank along with it and everything. It just makes you, it makes you feel...
A martini,
yeah.
dry.
Well, no, I ended up getting a Kentucky Mule.
Oh.
But, no, it was a Moscow Mule. It was vodka.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, it's still disgusting.
That's Kelly's favorite drink.
Moscow Mule?
Mm-hmm.
They're tasty.
Yeah. Why?
You like Bud Light Lime.
Yeah, get out of here.
White Russians. If you're gonna go crazy.
I don't care.
I actually think White Russians are fun.
Gonna get wild.
It's not... It turns a lot of people off, though, with the milk. Though.
Milk.
Yeah. Anyway.
Do you have holes in your pants?
Yeah.
How old are those?
3 years.
We're going to keep
There's no way.
I bought them like this.
We're going to keep that.
You bought them like that?
No, these are
Everything
from
before, I
Aeropostale.
wanted to
I bought
start
these
with-
probably in 2000.
How old are these?
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. That's 2008 pants with the little holes in
Bryce
them.
will literally
Yeah.
find anything to nitpick on this episode of Effin' Movie Podcast.
I got holes in my sweatpants.
I'm your host,
You
Dylan
don't buy
Camacho.
them like that.
No.
We are doing the show. I'm your host. That's the reason I start. Because somebody gets us fucking canceled with Nintendo. They're always watching. Also, host, not honorary, is Mason. Nathan, honorary host here is Price. We let him on the show every
Shut
week.
up.
And today we're talking about a cigar smoking, South African,
A gun shooting.
war touting,
This is North Africa.
bar drinking.
Yeah, I thought this
North
was
Africa.
North
You're right.
Africa.
No, you're right. It's
It's
North
North.
Africa.
Yeah.
Wherever the fuck Morocco is, it's Casablanca.
Gibraltar.
Can we add a caption here that says, "We're sorry if you're from Morocco watching this show."
Oh.
You're not watching the show if you're from Morocco. Although if you did, let us know how you found us in the comments below.
Mhm.
Anyway, enough distractions. We're here to talk about Casablanca. This is where we talk about the summary, right?
Yeah, that's you.
Yeah, so
So,
there you go.
Summary on this one. Yeah, I gotta set this one up. So Casablanca, a movie that I feel like everybody should kind of already know what this movie's about by now since how long it's been out. But
I didn't.
the short of it is, you get Rick. He opens a bar in the mystical, wonderful city of Casablanca. It's not really magical. It's just interesting. Anyway.
It's a strange, tunnel city. It's like a,
Yeah.
I don't know what you would call it.
It's like a refugee export
sanctuary.
city.
Yeah.
It's like this one of these ones that's away from the main Axis and Allied powers one, so it's a
that was
neutral
cool.
city. No,
it's just one that hasn't been captured.
Taken over, yeah.
Right. It's a neutral territory, which was where it played. It's the Sweden of the World War II story in this.
Wasn't you mean the Switzerland?
Switzerland, yeah, you know what I mean. Sorry.
Wasn't
Yeah.
Switzerland also the Switzerland of World War II?
No, we don't talk about Switzerland. Do you remember hearing about them in World War II?
Geography is tough today.
Yeah, the only thing I remember is didn't they hide Nazi gold or something? No, that was the Vatican.
No, that was
was
it.
the
No,
bad-
that was
yeah.
the kids in Dead Snow when they went to the cabin.
Yeah,
Jesus.
well they
So-
found
Nazi
it.
gold.
So anyway, as you can tell, there should be some presumptions about when this movie was shot. It's 1942. It's set right in World War II.
Mm-hmm.
So it is spot on right on this timeline with that. But anyway, Rick's there. At its core, you get this lovely old flame romance going in and out. Rick owns a bar. He's a very influential person in this neutral city. And he's got the ins and outs of the city and police. And it's got, whatever, you'll see. Everything's a little connected to each other in its own way. And then an old flame and her husband, as it turns out, who is a large anti-regime. He's a journalist or publisher or something like that. I forget what it was. It's been 3 weeks, guys. Sorry, Price has made us wait so long. And anyway,
Shame.
somebody who is a strong, a very high target for the Nazis because he keeps spreading the influence of maybe we shouldn't be Nazi everywhere. They don't like that, as
He's
it turns
a
out.
dissident.
Yes. And he's a Nathan Long of the time, if you will. So.
V for Vendetta.
Nazis want them. They come into town and they're flouting, and they don't get to own the place, but they kind of get to own the place because they're in the Europe areas, and Nazis are right there. And then hijinks ensue from there, and we will talk more about it. But without further ado, let's get into it. Price, you've watched this movie more recently than any of us, so I want to leap right into your thoughts on it.
I just want to first say that what qualified a person to be a big actor at the time is absurd, because the main actor in this, he's
Humphrey
not
Bogart?
terrible. He's just bland. There's just like why he's a leading man. I have no idea. I don't get any charisma from him. He just doesn't do anything spectacular, especially in a current sense
so
of
overly
why.
jaded too, which is, I assume, the character he's trying to play. But like, is that really what you want out of your main character? Is somebody who's super jaded about everything?
Yeah. Because like now it's like, I don't know. You want to be edgy, right? Like an edgy character is good now, but that's not edgy. Like back in the 40s.
It wasn't edgy. I think this was just a stoic everyday man.
Yeah.
If anything, there's...
The Marlboro Man or something.
I think there's actually something interesting in the fact that he doesn't particularly shine in a traditional sense, because this is going to be a lot of debate on this argument already, but there's going to be a lot of back and forth on, we have to consider this movie's 1942.
This movie's 80 years old.
Yeah, this movie is fucking old. It is...
The very first thing I said to Kelly when we were watching this, I said, you realize everybody in this movie's probably dead? That's weird.
Probably. Well,
There's
maybe
no
not
way.
everybody. 80? If they were born... Surely Humphrey Bogart spit out a
But
kid
no
right
one
around
was a
that time.
baby.
No, I'm saying
Oh, like
just
that
the
was
people-
acting in this movie.
Yeah, that was
okay,
in the
yeah,
movie.
Yeah.
I'm not saying they're descendants.
I'm thinking of like people born at that time, right? Where I'm like, if you're born in like 1942, you probably still
No,
be
I'm talking about
kicking.
just the people in the movie.
Sure, yeah, they're probably
Yeah.
very dead. But yeah, so the age is something, and Price, I can already hear will be like, I don't want to critique it based on that argument because I watched it today, which is what the trailer person would sound like, because this movie's fucking 80 years old and we should respect the time capsule that it is a little bit.
Yeah.
But credit where credit's due. Yeah, I don't think he stands out in a traditional modern sense of it being like a Robert Downey Jr. as Iron Man. He doesn't feel like he's charismatic, walks into a room and you're eyeballing to him, or like a Heath Ledger, who's also dead, walks in as like Joker, but two very different roles and doing very different things than what this movie's trying to do. So, fair. I won't say that he's like a standout blow up, like, I'm locked into him, or the lead actress, Ingrid
She's
Bogart.
really pretty, though.
She's incredible. Listen, back in the 40s, you say, you put somebody pretty up there, and if they could drop that one little tear, you're the best
Yep.
actress.
That's it. That's all you need.
I'll eventually go back and watch Audrey Hepburn movies to see if that was the case for her too. But with Ingrid, it felt like that there was just like, you just need to do fine with this and be incredibly attractive.
She was.
But to be fair, in the 40s, she was very attractive, and she did the job that she was
Like
given.
she's very attractive.
That's still she's like attractive, but not like stunning attractive. Like if I'm going Marilyn Monroe, like, a couple 20 years later, 20 years is a long time. I should not be selling that short. But anyway, point is, I want to put the important for this aside. I want to talk about this thing I think I like the most about this movie is the world building in this one.
Mm-hmm.
Casablanca feels fucking cool. Like they do a good job in what is like an hour 40 there. Mason
My issue though with Casablanca, and this doesn't necessarily like move towards it, but like the trailer that we watched
Yeah.
made it seem totally different than this movie.
Well, trailer.
Casablanca looked like a freaking camp. Casablanca looked like a
Damn.
touch it.
There you
Anyways,
go.
Casablanca looked like a place it was a little eerie, a little fishy in the trailer, whereas in the actual movie it was literally just like, oh yeah, you just seek refuge here for a
it's
week,
just-
2 weeks.
Yeah.
You know, any North African town in a desert.
Yeah.
Like it felt very much like any Moroccan town.
Yeah.
Should we?
With the clandestine markets and the things being sold.
It had a
for
sense of Agrabah
reward.
around it, right?
Oh,
yeah,
yeah.
You had all that, like the classic mercantile, like desert politics, if you will. I don't want to take too hard away from like what the trailer presents versus what the movie is, though, because yes, we saw the trailer, but at the same time, I'm like, what are trailers back in the day trying to do?
They had like 4 viewers.
It's the time capsule part of me where I'm like, I don't know how to view this. Nowadays, I'm like, okay, I know that they put out a trailer, and then they put out a later trailer that shows you the whole movie. There's the pitch trailer, and then there's the, it's like almost that, put it out to the people who aren't going to watch it to see if we can show them
See
the
if we
footage
can't
that they
get-
would
get a
eventually...
seat filled.
Oh, yeah, that looks cool. I'd go watch that. Like, right.
Yeah.
I don't know what the case is with old-timey trailers other than that one guy with, oh, yeah, I see a guy voice.
Yeah.
Which I admit, literally, kind of fucking love. But
Yeah, use it. Yeah.
it's funny. Like, it tickles my funny bone every time I hear it. But, yeah, so I don't know what the trailers are trying to go on with that. But,
That's the game.
Mhm.
Guarantee you, that's
It
the
is.
board game.
definitely the board game. You should probably take a quick commercial break
Oh.
Yeah.
Time out.
I forgot about that.
on that. Yeah.
I haven't even seen the cat.
I don't know if you're going to be seeing it.
Yeah,
much
you're never
more
gonna see that
after
cat
this.
again.
Yeah.
Have you been watching Attack on Titan Demon Slayer?
Okay.
Is that Demon Slayer fight not taking fucking
Let's just keep
forever?
going.
Yeah, I love it.
Crazy.
Did you watch Dragon Ball Z Bridge?
So drawn out. Yeah.
You were watching it forever
A little
ago.
bit.
Did you watch all of it though?
No.
Oh man, you need to. It's so good.
Nah, that's okay.
Okay.
How's the game look?
It's a mess.
We're just conceding it's a mess and finishing the review. All right, so I'll for visual.
Oh,
comment-
because it's on it's on the height thing.
Yeah.
Oh, it's even worse.
Okay, clap
Damn.
to get back in on 3. 1, 2, 3. Okay, after a quick commercial break. Thanks, Clea. So the world building, I wanted to sit there and talk. Yes, we were talking about like the markets and stuff like that, and I guess that makes sense for where it is geographically. It'd be strange if it didn't have that. But the bar culture, like it has what like I would
the whole
say.
movie's in the bar.
Yes,
Yeah.
but that's what I appreciate. That
For
it
the
feels
most
like
part.
there's a world in the bar. You go to the bar, you go to the bartending tables, and it's just like, whenever Rick's talking to that couple that's like trying to get out, or like in the mid to later part of it, and he's just like, bet on 21.
Yeah, the roulette table. Yeah.
Yeah, do it again. And then it's just character development there. But it's just that every little part of this bar has something going on. Like it's had its own little culture. You go to the piano, and then you've got Sam.
Yes.
who's- Thank you. It's been 3 weeks. I'm sorry, Price. But you got Sam
You should
playing the
know better.
piano, doing the tones. You got every little aspect of it. The cops that come in are all crooked and corrupt. But it's kind of
So
like
funny.
it's a first time where I find it charming instead of it not being racist and demeaning to all the rest of everybody else in the world. It just has this charm to it, and I really like the world that they build
Well,
in that
it's
time,
like-
the time you get it.
Are they crooked? I don't really think
Right.
so. I think
If anything,
they're
they're-
just like they're trying to handle best they can the cards that they're dealt in
Right.
the situation that they find themselves in.
They're realist in what they're
Yeah.
presented with, and
Like
especially
they want to help, but they're doing their best not to ruffle too many feathers
Right.
from the powers that be.
because
in
obviously when the
region.
Nazis come stomping in, it's neutral territory, but it's the fucking Nazis. So
Yeah.
I mean, what are you supposed to do in that case? I do appreciate the realism there, and I like that all these extra. There's an argument to be made that the two upfront characters are some of the most boring, when all the rest of the ones are, I think, very interesting. In contrast, I don't know. Do I feel alone in that? Not to say that they're boring. It's just not as interesting as the rest of the like support cast.
Well, I mean, even like the husband that's like the journalist,
Yeah.
the woman, like he's pretty good whenever he's on camera. Like they I don't know, they develop everyone just enough, I'd say.
Yeah.
But you're obviously focused. I think you're focused more on Sam too, like on all of his parts.
Sam's
Like, every time he's on screen, he's either helping or like laying down some kind of like history with him and what's his name.
yeah, he's kind of our like narrator and kind of
Yeah.
explaining like, oh, here's the events, and then here's the piano song.
It is pretty forward of them to feature Sam so prominently because this is the
1942.
40s. This
Yeah.
is like really
This is hella
before-
racist time still.
Yeah,
so.
like this is way before even like Brown versus Board.
Mhm.
So
No, I
very progressive for their time.
I think if nothing else, this movie gets a huge checkpoint on being not cancelable in today's day and age. Even by today's grade, the black actor doesn't feel like he's being incredibly demeaned. He's a main lead. He's given a lot of credit. The women aren't ever super... Okay, so it's a simpler romance.
Fun fact, there is a 16-year gap between our leading man and the woman.
That's a cultural thing.
That
from
is
1940s
so weird.
too,
That's why
though.
the famous line, "Here's looking at
Yeah,
you,
you
kid,"
kid.
because she's a child.
Yeah.
Well, she's
And
a
he
young
definitely
but
does
everybody
look
older
older.
still, though.
Okay, still. Like,
Listen, if I'm 40 and she's 18, she's 18 still, and by law. Listen, that gets frowned upon, but it's still fairly a common thing in
Yeah.
nowadays.
But maybe back in the day.
Back in the day, it's
Yeah.
probably much less frowned on.
Yeah.
So, credit or credit's due, yes, there's a gap.
I
But
still think it's so weird because he looks like a grown ass old man.
Well, and
she's a
timeline
young
wise, like if they had met how long before that? 6 years?
yeah, but we also don't
years.
know her age, so
I don't
debatably
think it was
she's
that
in-
many.
No,
I
it's
thought it was like at least
No,
5.
It was
but
like
maybe
3.
not.
It was like
It's
3 or
been
4.
3 or
I
4.
have watched it recently.
That's true. Prize has watched it within the most recent amount of time, where it's been 3 weeks for the rest of us. So yeah, I mean, listen, the age thing, put it into the context of the time, and hell, the fact that they're in a different country, the ages are all different, fluctuating on those side too. So
Yeah.
I don't care. It's still weird.
okay,
Yeah,
like,
it's- I think it's an interesting film, and just the side of like the portrayal of expats in a foreign land
Yeah.
under some somewhat dangerous situations.
Different law.
Like,
and all
yeah,
that.
the main character being an American is like, what What were
Yeah.
you doing in France? Why is it now that you're running a bar in Morocco?
Yeah.
Trivia nod. So the director and the writer, when they're trying to figure out why Rick wasn't allowed back in America, could just never finally land on a reason that just made most sense in that. So they just intentionally were just like, let's just leave it a mystery.
Yeah.
And I respect that decision, because I think if you're like, it kind of turns into Inception a little bit, where it's like, why can't he go back home? And then you just see the kids, and you're like, did Leo diddle his children? Like in Inception?
Oh,
why can't he go back? Like,
Yeah, I mean that's kind of a good point. It's like, why in the times that he was living in, with a great deal of uncertainty about what's going to happen to Northern Africa,
right.
why would you possibly, as an American, not want to just go back across the pond?
What did you do that was so bad that you're like, I will take my chances in the war-sprung parts of the world versus going back to America, right? For the record, in Inception, he couldn't go back because Maul made it look like he killed him. So,
yeah.
Anyway.
I thought the music was really good.
No, I thought the music was fine, yeah.
Every time that he got on the piano was really good. But then also the in-between scenes, like the chase scenes and stuff like that, like, but they also just sounded like any 1950s or 1960s.
Right.
You know.
That's how he like yelled at Sam that one time. Like, if you can play it for her, you can play it for me.
And he broke off his rocker.
Yeah.
Yeah. But he never drinks with customers.
He never drank with customers, but until then. Until now.
Until then.
You know, credit where credit's due.
There's your modern
Yes,
trailer.
there it is. Until now. No, I think credit where credit's due. There's a handful of lines and stuff that are like tropes because of this, but in the same way we've said before with other movies that have set a line for tropes, I'm not going to fault the movie for it for doing it right and becoming like a pop culture thing later on. The here's looking the UK line, sure. The Usual Suspects one I actually think is really funny whenever you're seeing the full context of it. It's just like, imagine if like we were always getting in trouble and then suddenly like the cop knocks, we got something going on, we just assume you guys know something about it.
Yeah.
Fuck. I kind of just like that as a concept as a whole, knowing that becomes a whole movie in itself later. I think the tropes that spawn from this movie actually all land very well for the movie and the movie, but I don't know, what do you guys think on like some of these lines that you typically tend to hear recycled over and over?
I think the one thing that stuck out the most, and it's very campy, or not campy, but you just see it a lot. It was at the very end whenever they were like, all right, everyone scram, get out of the bar. And then the cops, like, he's the one saying it, and then the roulette table guy comes up and like, here's your winnings, sir.
Yeah.
Thanks. Get out.
Yeah.
Because he's telling, like, we found out there's illegal gambling in
That's
the
what it
bar.
was.
There's gambling in here.
It's like, here's your winnings, sir. So, oh, thank you.
Did you laugh at that?
Yeah.
I did.
I laughed
was
at that,
like,
like-
this is like the only part where they're just completely throwing it at you, like dead end.
Yeah, it gets a little tongue in cheek.
Yeah. I think honestly, the humor is really underrated in this movie. It's not meant to be a comedy, but the parts that like are going for like a laugh. Whenever the Germans come up and they're like giving like Rick the dossier thing or whatever, my eyes are brown. Like that line really hit a tone for me for some reason. Like his delivery crushed on that. But then the cop scene on that one, yes, that scene in specific, like apparently there's illegal gambling going on. Here's your winnings, sir. Like, this movie had a really good tongue-in-cheek humor to it.
I feel like they had some pretty like intimidating like German characters too. Like you felt like you definitely wouldn't want to be in Casablanca just because of that situation.
Yeah.
But like,
Who's scared, the Nazis in this movie or Jojo Rabbit?
it's close.
Oh man, well the Gestapo, which
The
are also
Gestapo,
Nazis technically.
I would not want to come across the Gestapo.
The Gestapo scene was more intimidating, but also these Nazis just do a lot less in this one.
Yeah, they don't seem nearly as
Efficient.
menacing or efficient. It's like they're there trying to put on pressure, but they actually don't have enough power to make anybody truly feel like they're in any real danger.
Yeah.
But they're always like, but we could if we really, really wanted
Well, there was
to.
one time they were like, oh yeah, this guy just disappeared. We're not really sure what to put on his note.
Yeah.
We're not sure if it's going to be a suicide yet or if it's going to be a... You know, that was like the only part that I guess that they was
Where
really
they're
like pushing their foot.
Listen,
like,
we've got more power than you're fucking with us right now. What? Trivia note is that the main Nazi guy, the major, whatever, Stoffer or something like that, is actually played by a German Jewish person from that time period who was notoriously known as somebody who is a proud, like very active, like pro-Jew person because his wife is Jewish.
Cool.
And then later goes on to play this character, which apparently was just kind of like
ironic.
both a little like tongue-in-cheek irony, but also just like, that shows how like much this this performance probably mattered to him,
Mm-hmm.
having to play in Nazi Germany during. Again, I think we should probably give a nod to the fact that this movie is like just as much propaganda in the moment as anything else.
Well, what I was also going to ask is, like, yeah, you said it's 1942. That's when it came out. How
Yeah.
long do you think it took to actually produce movies, edit them, push them out on the screen back then? Because, like, nowadays it's about a year, sometimes less.
Sometimes it can be less or more depending on how much digital
Yeah.
is for us nowadays, but I don't think it was too much of a stretch further. Like, this was probably in 1939.
Like limited editing, I guess, and you're just kind of throwing it together.
Yeah, like probably around 1939 is probably when they're doing this movie.
Yeah.
So still pretty deep into World War II.
Oh, yeah.
I think that's, honestly, in itself, I think that's an interesting, like, that's not like a fact, it's just the truth. And I'm like, huh. Like, we don't have, like, thankfully, we don't have a World War to, like, really base the concept of, like, thinking, wow, mediums of, like, content is being centered around, like, this very focal point going on in the rest of the world. It feels kind of, like, pretty fucking daring of, like, in hindsight, where you're just like, man, they were making this one where we weren't sure we weren't all going to be speaking German there very soon at that point.
Yeah.
So...
Well, yeah, I mean, you could say to some extent it is almost like a propaganda.
Oh,
piece.
yeah. But for propaganda, I think it's still a good movie, all things
And-
considered.
Yeah, well, and I mean, there's a plethora of propaganda movies that were
sure.
being made on the German side for sure.
Oh, yeah.
And you could even say to this day, like
Jojo
China,
Rabbit.
Like China makes
Mhm.
propaganda films
Oh,
that are anti-American.
Yeah.
Even now, so propaganda is alive and well in the movie medium.
I think it's interesting to think about the tone of it, though. Nowadays, somehow we're both smarter and dumber, but I feel like there's this concept of, like, if we are watching, like, a propaganda movie now, we're going to feel, like, not a sense of patriotism. Like, AKA, like, if they're criticizing America, like, I as an American would be like, fair. Like, I mean, not teach them anything that I didn't already know.
Mm-hmm.
But then if it's, like, back in the, 40s when, patriotism was the loud, proud, like, nation thing, I feel like that stuff is just, like, any anti-American thing would just be, like, you're not touching the American box office. Like,
Yeah.
everybody's gonna be like, they're gonna shoot the people who tried to film this movie and, like, put it out there.
That's what happened with The Interview. Like, everyone was scared to death.
Yeah.
Which
Like Kim Jong-un.
was, that was exciting for
it was an
a
okay
minute.
movie. Yeah.
Right? Like,
It was not worth the movie that it was all the effort.
it wasn't worth the hype.
I really like The Interview. Y'all are crazy.
Like, it was good,
It
but
was-
I just think back to the hype of it all. Like,
Right.
Oh, North
Oh,
Korea's
yeah.
gonna
Hype
push that
versus the
freaking
movie,
button,
yeah.
and we're just
Over
like,
this movie?
Yeah, over that. That was
I
we
mean,
should laugh at it, right?
I'm curious what, like, the cultural tone of that one is, but, I mean...
Kim Jong-un has no butthole.
He does not poop.
But anyway, cons of the movie. I feel like we've been talking in prose for a minute.
I mean, the only movie that I can compare this one to is like it's kind of
It's kind of a funny story. Would be an interesting comparison.
It's a Wonderful Life.
It's
It's
a
kind of
okay.
a Wonderful Life. It's a Wonderful.
It's a Wonderful Life, yeah.
Because it is black and white. It's from relatively the same decade, I guess. Maybe
Yeah.
the 50s. I don't know. But
42 versus 50, whatever, classics.
it is a lot of the same type of acting, the same type dude, stoic. Don't you dare put your arm around me.
We're brothers.
Take me to dinner.
See, acting really came a long way. When you watch Brothers, you really see the dichotomy of it.
Ah!
Yeah.
Ah!
You see the classic traditionally anger stoic.
It's a
So-
kitchen.
Credit where credit's due,
Go in
though.
the kitchen, you hear banging. Theo's in there now.
Yeah.
It's like, I'm Toby.
I think credit where credit's due, though. Like, that's the everyday man.
Yeah,
Only more recently would we just find that boring, but there's an argument to be made that look at most Southern old dudes, and they're all the same angry golfer guys who are stoic and don't talk too much.
Yeah, that's
Yeah.
accurate.
So it's not like the man has evolved too far past this evolution with it. To say that it's still somewhat relevant is an argument to be had. So I'm not gonna 40 movie. I'm not gonna fault it for sitting to not reinvent the male character when we've not done a lot to involve the male character to begin with. Well, we have as the F Movie Podcast. We're feelings boys.
Feelings.
I don't know.
He's not.
I'd
That's
say
amazing.
that things are quite different now. I mean, maybe you can say that people by and large aren't
Sure.
that different, but
Yeah.
especially portrayed in media, men are portrayed drastically different.
Yeah,
than
now.
What they,
Yeah, because it shows all the different kinds of men that there are. Like, it's more
Right.
accurate of what's going on now, rather than
well,
back
in-
then
in
it was
a-
more the idealization of what
Right.
a man wanted to be.
A classic man should be a hard talking, hard drinking, hard hitting, doesn't say shit.
Hard hitting.
If he only says something when he's about to sit there get into a fight, or make a regard at a woman, and that's it. Like,
well, and in some ways, like back then, I would imagine it was harder to get out of line from that shtick.
oh yeah,
you
because
know?
I
Like,
think
that-
everybody wanted
That's
to
the thing
be
that's
that.
so different about now is like the openness of all of that
Yeah.
allows people to not feel like they're ostracizing themselves by being in any way alternative from that traditional ideal.
Can you imagine, like, back in the day, if you told somebody that, like, one of the world's prettiest guys, Jared Leto, like that the guy that everybody thinks is handsome, is going to like he did the what's that movie with Matthew McConaughey?
Dallas Buyers Club.
Yeah, where he like cross-dressed and won an award for it. They would just probably be like,
What?
Well,
what?
they would have hated it or found it very funny because I found that type of person.
Some like it hot.
Yeah, it's so 50-50.
That's a good point where they just made
Yeah.
fun of
Yeah,
that.
it has to be a
Yeah.
comedic tone. If it was something serious, that would have not been like received well at that time.
You know, and also talking about this movie and like the its contemporaries versus like modern.
Mm-hmm.
I just watched The Lighthouse today.
Yeah,
So I've just watched a black and white film.
Mm-hmm.
I don't feel like it's really all that comparable, other than that I would want to mention that The Lighthouse is a lot more stark in its black and white nature
Yeah.
than Casablanca. Casablanca, it's soft.
Oh, it's
lit.
beautiful.
Yeah,
Yeah.
like
Like it's gorgeous.
For it's black and
it
white, it
has,
doesn't
like,
feel
it
like
has
it's missing
good
the color.
color to it in a way.
Yeah.
Like the grayscale. Whereas The Lighthouse is very stark.
Oh, yeah,
And,
it's
like,
one-
there's
it's
a
one to
lot of
beat you
scenes
now.
where
Yeah.
it's in the dark and just like lit by a single light that's super strong
All
on
the
what
time.
it is.
Yeah.
You know what I think's interesting? In hindsight, when I think back on Casablanca, when I'm thinking about like the market scene or something like that, my brain's like adding color in. Like I feel like there was color in it because it had that vibrance to it, right? Like
Maybe, yeah.
for me,
Maybe
like
it's
I
just the
sit there
soft
and
tone of it.
I feel like I almost kind of see like that yellowish like tone over it mentally, but then I'm like, it's black and white, Dylan. Like there wasn't color in it,
Mhm.
but I'm like, yeah, but my brain's wanting to fill it in, and it's not that hard because I think it had a vibrance to it that I already know what the colors would have been.
It's like
if
you
it
got
had
one of
been.
those infomercials of like WW2 in color.
Yeah.
I wonder if anybody would ever go back and like redo this film in color.
So,
I feel like that's
in
if
color,
there were one
they-
that were gonna be done, I could see that
For
being
sure.
the
Right,
first
if-
one that somebody would like target as a project.
If this ever gets like re-released, then yeah, like color's about the main thing that you do to it. But it's so interesting note, trivia note. I'm just sprinkling trivia in as
You're
we-
doing really good.
Yeah,
Yeah,
it's
honestly.
been a lot of
I like
relevant
it.
stuff on it. So trivia note with this is that in 2000, Madonna actually came with a pitch to try to do a modern remake of Casablanca with Ashton Kutcher as the lead. I know. And
He's not old enough.
nope,
Not
you're right.
2000.
So they were pitching the script around, and literally studios were like, "This movie cannot and should not be remade," and shut it down.
It's good to know that they drew a line then. I don't know
Yeah.
if they would be drawing that line
Nowadays,
today.
I know as we keep creeping more and more into remake and retake territories,
It's
it
gross to
gets
think that Madonna was gonna be like
Madonna
Ew.
would have been.
that.
Well, we don't know if she would be
The
the
hot
lead.
piece?
She's just she
Oh,
had the
okay.
premise, right? It didn't say that she was
What
going
do
to
you
be the lead, but
premise?
probably like she had the remake like script, like what she would want to do.
Madonna
with
getting like
modernized.
2 shout-outs in consecutive reviews because Perfect Blue. I
Oh,
talked
yeah.
about how
Yeah.
she used
Yeah.
some clips from Perfect Blue.
Credit or credits due. Madonna's an artist.
She is very interesting.
She is.
Did you see some of her COVID videos?
No.
They're hilarious.
I've
I'll
only-
have to show you all later.
No.
so bad.
Oh
No.
yeah, you've seen them?
So out of
Oh, wait,
touch.
did you watch Internet
so
Historian?
unbelievably out of touch.
Internet Historian?
Yeah.
Is that where you saw
yeah.
it?
Yeah.
Also, side note for the remake and re stuff. So apparently, back in the '80s, this was just like a random thing that I saw that was like. Apparently, there was a study done where they got the script of Casablanca, changed the names and stuff around, but kept more or less everything else the same, and passed it along to studios. And people criticized the script, and they were like, "This is bad. This would never work. There's not enough action. There's not enough sex." Like, so this is like back in like '83 or '87 or something, like something in that like range part or whatever. And everybody was like, "That's a skip to Casablanca." Like, so some people caught on.
Yeah.
The people who didn't were like, "This is fucking terrible."
Yeah.
Like, nobody would make this
Dismissing
movie.
it immediately.
Right. So I kind of love like the little like the kind of how I appreciate how timeless that this movie is remained by not being remade and rebooted and done anything into us, because good God, how quickly like we could just be like, all right, well we're gonna Gatsby. That's what I'm thinking it would look like. It would be like a Gatsby movie, right?
Hey, that movie
Which
looked
Mason would
really
be-
nice.
Gatsby cannot stop.
It won't stop. It won't stop.
Could you imagine if like Sam pulls up a keyboard and it just starts playing. Like,
And he turns into like Will.I.am just
Yeah.
all of a sudden.
And it just
Exactly.
cuts to like slow mo champagne bottles being popped.
Will Smith would be
Nice.
Humphrey
Disgusting.
Bogart's character.
Like, yeah.
Margot Robbie would be the other one, and it would just be what's that movie again? They
I
did
know
a
the
movie.
one you're talking about.
Oh.
I don't know the name though.
I don't know.
Yeah,
the
come
name
on,
of it.
Will Smith, Stan, help us
I
out.
didn't hear the second
Margot
half of
Robbie
that.
and
Will
Will
Smith.
Smith.
Oh, Focus.
Focus. Yeah.
How did I forget Focus?
That's
Yeah.
a good movie.
Yeah, but would
It's
it
a
be?
heist movie.
But would it be a
I
good
haven't
movie
seen-
if they try to remake it with that chemistry as Casablanca?
Sure. Yeah.
Makes sense. That's bias, but
Absolutely. Watch Focus.
okay. To be fair, credit or credit to Mason. I haven't watched Focus. I don't-
It's probably like his number 5.
This
best
you're
movie.
you're gonna say 5 is the chemistry you. Anyway,
Dylan, give us the question, dear
so
God.
wait, there's a question.
Yeah.
I thought we got rid of that segment. I thought we'd go with that then.
No.
All right.
Marilyn Monroe or this girl? Who's a better actress?
Yeah,
Marilyn
I'll
Monroe.
take that question, and I'll say Marilyn Monroe.
Oh
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah, same.
Yeah, because
Yeah,
I mean-
all right.
Boo!
We just wanted to clarify: Marilyn Monroe over Ingrid Bogart, or no, Ingrid Breger.
Well,
whatever.
I mean,
her
in
name
this
is.
film, I haven't seen other.
Credit or credits due.
things
She
that
might have
she's
other
been
films
in.
where she's expanding more, and Marilyn, 20 years later, got a lot more to work with on her character. So, fair. Not really a fair competition, but. If we had watched like a movie with like Audrey Hepburn, then that would be like maybe between those two. But I have never watched an Audrey Hepburn film, so
Same.
I don't know. Give it time. Maybe we'll put one on here. But fat thin,
Yep.
perfectly fit. I can't describe it. That's the rule. I hate it. Mason, start us up.
This movie's fit. I think we all were under the impression that it was a long movie, and I
Hour
think
42.
yeah, it was just over an hour and a half.
Yeah.
And I mean, you didn't sit on too many scenes too long. Like even then, yeah, see, like he had his like few parts that were a lot of fun. Like no character got overly flushed out. And the scene at the end, I think, wrapped it up really, really well. That could have gone in a lot of different ways. I'm not saying it would have been really bad for it if it had gone like, oh, he got caught, obviously, or oh yeah, he definitely escaped to the States, or whatever.
It was hilarious how the lieutenant guy got shot. The people showed up like 2 seconds later.
Within 5 seconds.
And then the lead cop's like, hey, we just found him
gather
here.
the
Yeah.
usual suspects.
Yes.
That's what they said.
Fun fact. Trivia note. Ding.
Yeah.
That set is actually not an airplane. Like it's like
It looked fake
it's a
as
mini.
fuck.
Yeah, I know.
Like, that was maybe the ugliest scene. Like,
It's intentional.
in the
'cause
background, it was
So-
ugly because it was just foggy.
but I like the reason for it though. So at night you couldn't have airplanes going through because the World War settings and everything like that.
Oh, okay, yeah.
Oh.
So you couldn't do a shot like that at that
Yeah.
time. Hollywood wasn't allowing it because you just
Well,
would have got shot down
I
if you
just thought
tried.
it was like smaller budget too. Like I didn't think of anything like war wise or efforts
Interesting you
like
mentioned
that.
the budget. This script was $20,000.
He's good at this.
Yeah,
He knows his
I'm crushing my
IMDb.
trivia on this one.
What'd you say? 20,000.
$20,000. $20,000 for the script. That was what the person who wrote the script sold it for.
That's a fuck ton of money.
In 1940s?
In 30s?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah,
More
technically
than
in the
in the
30s at
30s.
that point. Yeah, before they actually started doing the
He
film.
got 20 grand.
20 grand. I wonder how. Dude, we should look up a translation for that later. But anyway, fit.
Like influx.
You were
or
saying-
influx.
Yeah.
Whatever it's called.
Inflation, buddy.
Inflation.
There you go.
Yeah, but I think that like if it had had a worse ending,
Mhm.
if it had a different ending, it would have swayed you maybe in the negative direction.
Oh, I agree.
But yeah, I think it's fit.
I think it's a little fat. I think the romance stuff drags on too long. I don't think that it really should have focused on that at all. I was 0% interested in the romance. Plays a big part in the end, but like I said, I don't really care. I just wasn't too invested in the romance. But I did enjoy all the dialogue. It had some really good lines, and they were quick on their delivery, which I really liked. So it kept the movie going. But still, about 10-15 minutes too long, in my opinion.
I'm with Mason. I think it was fit. Yeah, the romance stuff is probably like the stuff that drags the most with it. But again, I thought it was fine. I didn't think that it was like a lovely, heavy, charismatic like chemistry. I will say that it's lacking chemistry enough for me to be like, even by modern days, I would say that this is like a romance that I would be like, oh, this is a true romance story.
Same.
But
Man,
how much was it in Karate?
333,000.
Woo!
20 grand
That guy got away.
was $1/3 back then.
Inflation, baby. So
God.
I know.
For a script.
I know. Yeah, I mean, when you're making Casablanca, though, that's a fair trade-off.
But it wasn't prestigious yet.
Yeah,
it wasn't
you're-
anything.
Yeah,
You're right.
that
At its time,
at
it
that
ran
point,
away.
There wasn't anything there
That's
yet.
a chance.
Yeah,
Yeah.
but test
You're
the
rolling
time.
the dice.
Test the time. I think it pays off on it. But considering how much scripts and stuff are paid for now, anyway, not the point. Yeah. So I mean, I think it's fit. I think it doesn't ever feel like it overextends its runtime. It doesn't feel like it's bloated. I think it is truly a fair definition of fit. And it just ends. It does its scene. It does its finale. The guy gets shot. They fly off. All right, walk off into the sunset or moonset in this case.
Yeah, it's not like Remember Me where it drags on and on.
No, Remember Me did a wonderful job of hitting that.
I just remember it being kind of explosive.
I remember
towards the
it
end.
gets 9/11, black screen, and credits roll.
That is not what happened.
That's exactly
That's
it.
how I remember it.
Yeah, that's it.
Did you watch the director's cut? Nathan, what did you do?
Everything you do in life will
Yeah.
be. What does he say? Everything you do
Will be
in life.
explosive. Sunglasses.
know.
What
I'm
if it
gonna
did do
remember
that
it.
though? Would you,
Oh, it'd be an 11.
were you
out of
rated
10.
higher?
Yeah.
Okay.
Something. So it's been a while since I've watched this.
Yeah, it's been
and,
several weeks.
I'm gonna go ahead and spoil a little bit that this movie feels a little more forgettable than I wish it had. But
agree.
I just feel like I remember it being a little bad. Not by much, but and not that I would even remember exactly where exactly to make these cuts, but I feel like it could have been compacted down like maybe 10 minutes. I don't know what happened.
Don't address it. We're professionals.
All right.
So
Scores.
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 All right, I'm gonna start
Start us up, Mason.
because Bryce is gonna need a minute.
Yeah, it's gonna be a while.
I'm teetering between like a 7.5 and an 8. It's like this movie.
Oh God.
I think that it's just fun enough. I'll probably not watch it for a while, but I think I'll land at a 7.5. I mean, it did what it needed to do. I'm glad it's a classic. It was gorgeous, as Nathan said. I don't know that I would ever want to see it in color, is the only thing. Like, it's soft hue and everything. It's just...
Yeah, it's just one of those things that, like, I would wonder if that's a thing that somebody would take upon themselves as, like, a pet project. Because, like, there's a group on Reddit that goes and colorizes old black and white photos.
That's neat.
I could see that as being, like, a
Here's
big
our yearly
goal
project,
for somebody,
yeah.
you know?
That has to exist.
Yeah, that's probably the case. Or at least the cover of it or something.
Oh, sure.
yeah.
Yeah, the Casablanca's cover is in color.
Western. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, but 7.5
Been
for me.
colorized.
I think it's fun.
This movie is the most solid 6 out of 10 I think I could possibly imagine. Went in with low expectations, but I was engaged in it. Like I said, I think the dialogue, I don't think I said it enough, the dialogue is the best part for me of the movie. And I like how quick the delivery is. But it's just pretty forgettable still, in my opinion. There's some weird things. I think it's really weird that there's a 16-year gap between them, and she was married, but I guess she thought her husband was dead, but they still fell in love, and then she quit, and then she fell in love with him again, even though her husband's there. And she's like, I never want to leave you, and then he kicks her out anyway. I didn't agree with the main character's actions for the most part, like when he just decided to give those people so much money, like from the gambling table, so that's his money that he's giving to them just because he feels sorry for them. And I've never really seen any indication to his character up to this point that he really cares about much of anybody. He's like, up until that point, he's stayed neutral. He doesn't care about like anything. He stays out of it. But then the girl comes in, and apparently he cares for everybody at this point. I don't really care if they disagree with me, just because that's just how I feel.
No,
I mean, they literally describe that whole character arc in the movie. They say that you want yourself to be portrayed as this, but in reality, we know that you're continually this character behind the scenes. And then for most of the movie, they give you cold, like, oh, calculating Rick when it comes to Rick's benefits. But then every now and again, you just get those moments right into, like, the girl from the very beginning of the movie. Because the couple, humble nod, well, actually, like, she's around from, like, the very beginning of the movie, and then later it's still the same one. But
I don't care. I still see it as inconsistency with his character.
it's not. They literally address it in the movie. But
So,
okay.
6 out of 10 for me.
Nathan.
I'm gonna give this a 6.5. I don't know if my score would have been any different had we reviewed this sooner, but one thing that has...
That's a shot.
One thing that has occurred in the interim time that we've had since I watched this film is I'm reminded of just how forgettable the vast majority of it was to me. I remember thinking like, yeah, it was pretty good, you know, I'm glad to have seen it. I think it was interesting for the time, but ultimately it's not one that I see any strong reason to go back and watch again. Yeah, I mean, it's a fine film, but it wasn't exceptional in my eyes.
So. What between what you and Bryce just said, I have to wonder, like, you know, you said something about, oh yeah, she falls in love with him, he falls out of love, she falls out of love, blah 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 blah. And what you just said as far as being forgettable and, like, I would almost say like formulaic, where it's just like the same type of thing happening. Does this not happen in a ton of like Western movies? Like just like that inlying like love interest, like the guy gets the girl at the end, he holds her and he's like just riding off in the sunset, like it's just this happy like ending, sort of like
where it's like kind of threading the needle of like we're hot, we're cold.
And it makes you think like, well, back in the day whenever you go to the theater or whenever they would go back to the theater or whatever, like it was a little something for her, a little something for him. Everyone's happy at the end. Everything's good. Everything's jolly. Like, that's what this movie is like.
But this movie does disrupt that a bit. Because with the thing where they don't, like, she goes her way, he goes his.
That's true. They don't actually end up together.
That's not quite that traditional scheme.
Yeah. And credit where credit's due, I think they both end up with happy endings still, objectively. Like, he doesn't end up in a Nazi camp, and she walks away with her husband still. I mean, sure, there's that tragic back and
the,
forth.
like, almost bad guy of the police chief end up just
chumming it up.
Pretty
together.
Funny.
And they're going to just be resistance people, I guess, from this point forward, which, why not? Tracks on that one. So, don't make a sequel.
Or they may just continue living on at that bar.
Yeah.
Well,
no, they have to leave.
Yeah, they have to leave. At this point, I think
they said that the suspects...
He killed a
Nazi German.
He did.
Like, general. I think at that point, the implication is that the Germans are just going to come fucking stomping in now.
Okay.
Like, they can't just stick around.
If a general of the Nazi army dies in Casablanca, Casablanca is now on the list of places.
Safe.
Like, they love that general get killed because now they have a precedence to just storm on.
True.
Yeah. It's the old diplomat trick. You send a shitty diplomat because they're like, kill me, daddy, they want me to die. Yeah. And then everybody else is like, no, your country is ours because you killed our shitty guy. Like,
why did you sound like the South
Part?
Yeah, I don't know why. My head should be up and down.
Yeah, it's like you're suddenly Canadian.
I don't know. I don't know why that Canadian voice in that one. I'm a little congested this past week.
You thought Casablanca was in Canada, didn't you?
No.
You thought it was in South Africa.
Yeah, you thought it was in
South Africa. It was in North Africa. Excuse me, the American who's never been to the country to know where exactly Morocco is off the top of my head. Anyway, you guys are lowballing this. I'm giving this a strong 8.5.
Okay.
I'm putting it right to the 0.5. My big thing is that, yes, I think it's just strong. It's a strong film. I mean, a strong film with being as old as it is. A lot of things should be like dated age and stuff like that. I think it looks fine. I think it sounds fine. I think that all that's left, the inner character works, is, yes, kind of predictable. And yes, because it's kind of this given, like, not heavily fleshed out, acted chemistry one with it. The weakest part of this is the romance in modern day review lens. But even at the same time, I wouldn't say that it's bad, it's just that it's weaker. I don't feel like there's heavy chemistry, but I don't feel like that there's no chemistry. And I think that the story there in itself is supposed to feel resistant. You have a woman who was married and thought her husband died because he was in a concentration camp, and then incidentally falls in love with this guy, age gap aside. And then...
He's just last, so he's just like, you're wrong because of this, you're wrong because of this.
No.
Here's my score.
I'm saying here's why I give it differently versus you, because I know you don't give a shit if it's from the 30s or 20s or whatever. You just refuse to add that scope of context into it. I value that context because I think it's important to also remember we're in a different age, drastically different time from when this movie is shot and filmed, and even with that consideration, it still holds up pretty fucking good in my opinion. I watched it and I don't feel like I'm like bored to death. It's not like if you put on some old movies in like a classroom or something like that, I've seen and slept through several movies. I slept through Schindler's List, which is probably a really good movie.
That movie's solid.
Yeah, I haven't watched it in
It's
modern
like
day.
3 hours long and it's so good.
But as a teenager, I thought it was boring because it was black and white, looked bored. I woke up and there was titties at one point. Critter
Liam
Critter.
Neeson.
I know! It has everything I probably would
And
find.
titties.
And titties. But big fault to this one. This doesn't go to a 9 or a 10s because there's no dong, and there definitely could have been dong at this time. If Everyday Man should have hung Everyday Dong.
That's gonna be your slogan.
Yes.
Everyday man, everyday slong.
Yeah, 100%.
Slong.
Slong. I don't know why slong is so much funnier. But anyway, in pure enjoyment as it comes down to it, I just really enjoyed this film. I sat there, me and the wife got it out. We got some drinks, drank along with it because it really just promotes drinking, which is probably not a great thing. But I thought the world was super cool. I thought the characters were funny. I thought there were moments where I laughed or I should have laughed. I was like, okay, this movie still holds up a lot of things that it should. 8.5.
Nice. Critic reviews.
Yes.
Real
So,
quick.
all right. This is gonna be a pretty easy one. What do you think? Who do you think rated this higher, critics or audience?
Critics.
Now you'd be surprised to find out, Mason,
That I'm right.
that you're pretty correct. So critics graded as a 99%. Most of them go.
God.
I think that's just too much people drinking the Kool-Aid and just like, I can't not give this.
That's true.
the
He
best
can't be on the other
possible
side of the
score.
wagon.
Audience at the
Can't
time.
be.
Now I don't know when and what audiences they're grading on this one, mind you, because this is an older movie. 95% for audience for those wondering. That being said, quick Hannah score, she gives it like a 9.52.
Dang.
She puts it right in that ballpark. She was like, honestly, I don't see where there's many flaws on it. This movie
Yeah.
over time and all that
Jeez.
stuff is still held up.
I mean, it's
So as
good.
having somebody that's totally away from our scales and
Yeah.
just being okay, so honestly, I could see where people probably go that way if that's the case. Hannah did. So, and she's got a very different taste in movies than generally we do. Barring JoJo, she gets it on JoJo.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, so Minority Surprise, critics fucking love this movie. It's a classic though, so classics probably they do love them on that one.
Yeah, you're getting fired as a critic if you say Casablanca's bad. Like
Yeah.
you said.
Yeah, like that's
Yeah.
that's the thing. It's like I don't.
That's
think
a Hollywood
you can
rule.
Say
Yeah.
anything.
Yeah,
bad
you're not
about
allowed
it.
to say it.
Mm.
You just.
Yeah, I mean that's career suicide as a
Yeah.
movie critic.
Thankfully, here in the F Movie Podcast, we're not paid by anybody, so
Yeah.
We can say what the fuck we want.
I mean, objectively, still, Price puts it on the positive side of the 5 versus the negative, so I guess it's a good movie.
While you guys spin that, I'm gonna go ahead and grab
Yeah.
that keyboard.
We'll let you know. All right, big money.
The Big Sick.
The biggest sick.
Is this another your movie?
This is a me movie.
It's an amazing
This
movie.
is yours?
It's kind of a rom-com.
What
Yeah.
is that?
It's got the guy from Silicon Valley.
Yeah, the Indian actor.
Yeah, the Indian dude.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. I
He's
know
from
you're talking
Eternals too,
about.
right?
The Jack guy?
Yeah.
Yes.
I
I
hate
don't
that I
know.
forget.
Out
his
of
name.
every movie on this list, it's got to be the Big
Yeah.
I know. I'm wanting Devil all the time to be picked.
It
so
started
bad.
creeping up, and then it was do.
Oh.
Yeah.
I want this.
You don't get that.
You don't get
You
that.
get this.
You don't get it, fucker. You
Oh, we
get it.
get
The
to
Big
watch
Sick.
the trailer.
Oh, so the trailer coming up, but the Big Sick, no relation to COVID. Let's get that.
It's got
trailer.
Ray Romano.
This one has Ray Romano.
Yes.
I didn't watch this movie. It's been one that I've seen on this wheel for like several
really?
years, so I was like, oh, let me get this wheel.
I like Ray.
Ray.
He's funny. I hear everybody loves Ray.
Shut the fuck up. Somebody throw a tomato at this.
A pistachio.
Yeah, well, we got the pistachios on this.
Yeah,
That's
we
what
got
I'm
lots of those now.
I'll just flood them.
How many did you eat of your bag? Because you chowed down on them.
Wheel of Time is
probably
on
like
here
30.
every
Yeah.
time you search.
Mhm.
It's always on there.
Alright, Big Sick trailer.
Oh, so I've started watching Tales from the Loop. That guy's actually in that
Don't know what that
TV
is.
show too.
Kumal Dam. Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm just not
This is
that
very
kind of girl.
different.
Only have sex once on the first date. I'm just gonna call an Uber.
He traveled very soon he puts on his pants.
Oh.
Funny joke.
Judd Apatow.
Yeah, of course it's there.
I've been dating this girl. She's white. A white girl? You not look like you and your white girl. It's okay. Behave, terrorists.
I wonder who that could
Is that Chicago?
It's a young single
Pretty sure it's
I think it
Chicago.
is, yeah.
Based on the Cubs, probably.
For your files, your X-Files, that's your favorite show, huh? The truth is out there.
Oh.
Yes. I can already tell I'm gonna like the cringe in this.
What is in my culture?
Oh my god, it's so stupid. Can you imagine a world in which we end up together?
Price is already gonna hate this.
He likes him.
This is
He
awful.
likes him though.
Can you imagine where we are?
You should call our family. Thank you. Come on. We're gonna handle things from here. I think I'm just gonna wait
You
anyway.
guys broke up. I'm not sure why you're here.
I'm just gonna stay for a second. Is this seat? Oh.
Man, Ray Romano looks old.
Is that lady still looking at me?
He looks like a dad though.
Uh-huh.
I've always wanted to have a conversation with people. You've
This
never
is
done
so.
What?
See, it's gut busting funny though. You're not laughing.
Gut busting.
it. If you can't rhyme it, you try to find a word.
Why?
Nobody can.
Okay, so
Stonehenge.
is it just out of focus, or is that photo being blurred? Did you guys see that?
Uh-huh.
There was a photo hanging on the wall that looked
Bo
blurred.
Burnham.
Uh-huh.
He's in it for very little. I think it's like his best friend.
Sing me a song.
Love isn't easy.
Sing me the internet song.
That's why they call it love.
Jeff Bezos.
I don't really get that.
So is that a dinner?
It wasn't a dinner table.
Damn it!
Not that I'm aware of. I don't know that there's a dinner table in it.
Mason, why on earth did you
Man,
make this?
not at all what I expected from the title of that movie.
Oh, I've heard really good things about this. But people who would know that I would like something in a comedy, somewhat romance situation. It's almost teens. It's a young
It's
adult.
all. It's a young adult.
It's a young adult.
comedy, yeah.
See, we got away from teens. We're growing up. Anyway, guys. So Price isn't looking forward to this. I am.
Nor was he looking forward to Perks though.
Nope. And he rated Perks at like a good 3.
A good 3.
Yeah.
Hey, that was 3
He gave
times.
it that
So-
good 3.
That's 3.
But he was threatening a 0.
Yeah.
So that's a 3
Well,
point
Yeah.
at
swing.
least he didn't open this one with the threatening of 0
Yeah.
again.
He's feeling like a 2 right now. So
Yeah,
the best
he-
I'll get out of this is a
He's
5.
feeling like a 2. So yeah, we got a top on
I'm gonna
5.
wreck your average.
Do it. Fuck it
Price
up.
is only here to ruin people's
Price
averages.
has been working on that for everybody.
I know.
He was born that way.
I know. Well, that's the fault of their silly 1 to 10 scale. Anyway, guys, that's our review of Casablanca. Make sure to tune in next week for The Big Sick. We just watched the trailer. We mixed thoughts, it seems.
Yeah.
Nathan's not happy with this blurred picture. Stay tuned if it's blurred in the movie. If you think,
It's so weird.
yeah.
Yeah.
I don't know what you should think about Casablanca, actually. If you just let us know for it, if it's like an old movie that you're like, if you think this is old, you should let us know in the comments below. If you think that it isn't old, you should also let us know in the comments below. Listen, I have to comment either way.
It's
We
old
got them.
or timeless.
Yeah.
What if they think it's timeless?
If they think it's timeless, let us know in the comments below.
There you go. Now we got them all.
There we go.
We hooked them all.
Got you.
If you're not commenting and you're watching this, oh, you're gonna get bad cursed. That's bad cursed. Bad luck. 25 years of bad luck.
Damn.
That's like a broken mirror, but worse. Don't fuck with that in movie podcast. See you next week. Big Sick. Subscribe. Hit the bell.
Bye.
Bye.
We're on Spotify too.
Yeah.
Also check us out on Spotify.
Yeah.
Hard to find.
Yeah.
I found us, but it took a little while.
Oh,
did
We're
it?
not near the front page.
Who knew?
We're the second page.
I don't understand.
How many effing podcasts is this?